What's going on, guys? This is Nubby with One Hand Tech, back with another review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the X-Tronic 8040 infrared preheating station. I did an unboxing on this already probably a week and a half ago, and I've been using it since then so I could get a good feel for the unit and how it operates and the durability of it, so I could bring you guys a good thorough review of it. Now the first thing we're going to do is go over some of the specs of the unit. Now, as you can see, it's a pretty small unit. Seems like X-Tronic is trying to go with a small footprint for their complete product line now. It has a measurement of a little bit over 8.5 inches wide, and then about another 8.5 inches deep. It's pretty square. It's really small, actually. The actual heating element work area is a little bit over 5 inches square, just under 5.25 inches. This unit does have a temperature range of 100 degrees centigrade to 500 degrees centigrade, and for those who don't know, that's 212 degrees Fahrenheit to 932 degrees Fahrenheit. The display on the unit only displays in centigrade. Now, I have looked, and you can add a thermocouple to this unit. There's some mounting holes to mount holders or something, and you could put your own on there if you need the Fahrenheit. As far as I know, they don't offer a Fahrenheit model. Everything that comes in the kit, you get the preheating station, 5 times magnifying lamp, and a pair of stainless steel tweezers. As you can see in the unboxing, I didn't get the tweezers with mine, but this is a review sample, so you will probably get that in the retail version. This unit, like the 6040 unit the rework station that I reviewed, is also ESD Safe, and you can see that here. It's labeled. So the power consumption of this unit is 1300 watts at full load. It's a very power hungry unit, but there's a lot of power in there, so you gotta feed it. The actual weight of the unit is 10 pounds. It's not very heavy. Like I said, it's very small footprint, so the weight is not going to be that much either. Now, that's pretty much all for the specifications. Now I'm going to give you guys a tour around the unit itself, and then talk about the pros and cons of it, really. Alright. So on the front we have on and off power button or switch. You got a heat cool switch. Your temperature display. Like I said, that displays only in centigrade. You have a temperature up and a temperature down button. Pretty self-explanatory front panel. Anybody can use it. It's pretty simple. This is the right hand side of the unit, and as you can see, there's ventilation here and there's ventilation across the top. And while we're here, we'll take a look at the top. You have these 2 rails that slide in and out to adjust to the size of the board that you're going to use. And this is the heating element itself in here. And like I said, this work area is just under 5.25 inches square. These jaws open up to a little over 6 inches. And take a look at the back. You see your AC power in, and there's no ventilation or nothing, but they have included a fuse integrated into the AC power jack. You get a screwdriver and come right in here. There's a little notch. Just pull that out, and there's your fuse. You can change your fuse out if you need to. Slide it back in, and good to go. And see, the craftsmanship on mine didn't seem to be too top notch. As you can see, the power jack is kind of loose, and I don't like that. It tends to short things out when they're let loose like that. On the left hand side of the unit, you can see there's more ventilation across up here too. Now, one thing that I haven't figured out yet is what these mounting holes here are for, and this is where I said you could mount a thermocouple or something if you wanted to, because there's no bolts or nothing. It's just holes, like a holder of some type is supposed to go in there. Now maybe this could be a mount for your hot air gun from your rework station, or a lamp of some sort. I don't know. I'm gonna have to write X-Tronic and find out what these are used for. Maybe they sell other accessories that go on to these to help you when you're using it. And on the bottom of the unit, you can see you have some nice rubber feet. Keeps the unit stable, doesn't let it slide around too easy. I'm just shaking my desk here and it wasn't moving. So they do seem pretty good. Now, one thing that I did find kind of annoying on this unit is that the manufacturer has included a transparent red power switch. And most of the time you see these switches, it's because there's a light that comes on when you turn the unit on. This one does not have one, and there's no way for you to tell that the unit is on, and except for the temperature display coming on when you turn the unit on. Now, if you go to turn the unit on and your temperature display burns out, there's no way for you to know if the unit's on or not, besides sticking your hand on it to feel for the heat. And that's, to me, that would just have been a good addition to put in there, is to have that LED behind this switch so you could see when it was powered on or not. Moving on over, the heat cool switch is just a normal rocker switch, on and off. It's got a heat setting. The heat heats up at about 3 to 4 degrees every second. The cool down, when you switch it to cool down, it takes a long time to cool down, and that's what you want. I mean, you don't want it to cool too fast and crack things. But it cools down at like 5 to 6 degrees centigrade every minute. And so if you're working at a 200 degree preheat, then it's going to take a while for it to cool down. The temperature up button is just what it says. It goes by 1 degree increments every time you push the button, and you can hold the button down to go through them faster. The temperature down button is the same way. The temperature display is just a normal 3-digit 7-segment display, and like I said, it only displays the temperature in centigrade, which is a downside. I wish you could be able to switch between Fahrenheit and centigrade, but working on computers and being electronics, I've gotten used to centigrade anyways, so it's not that big of a deal for me. Now, one thing that I don't like about this unit is that it does not come with any type of thermocouple. There's no way for you on this unit, I mean there's ways to do it, but not included on this unit, for you to keep track of your board or component temperature. And that's vital when you're using a preheating station and a rework station. Now, you need to know what those temperatures are at all times, and I think that might be why these mounting holes are over here on the side, is for the use of a thermocouple or something. I'm going to check into that, and I'll let you guys know when I do find out. But it would have been nice to have it with the unit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on and show you guys how to function the unit. And it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go over it anyway. When you first turn the unit on, the degrees that you have it set to will jump up on the display, and then it'll only stay there for a second or two, and then it'll go to the actual temperature it's at the moment. Now you just turn the unit on by turning the switch on, and as you can see, the 325 come up, and that's, for me, that's way too high for a preheating station, but I was messing around with it the past week or so, trying to dial it into what I want to use it at. And right now you can see it's down to 20 degrees centigrade, and that's pretty much the temperature in my room, and I have it on cool. If we switch it to heat, you'll see it'll start climbing. And another little thing that was wrong with mine too is that the front panel, this is a sticker that's on here. It's not actually painted on the metal or anything, which to me, I don't like it because it keeps peeling off on the bottom down here. But for normal use, it's not that big of a deal for most people. I'm just being picky, because I'm extremely surprised with these X-Tronics products. They keep a very small form factor and pack a lot of power into them, and they're very reliable. Bring it down to 100 so we don't have to wait all day for it to get up to temp. And that's what I mean by you can hold the temperature button in. And see, it's already at 109. Now, like I said, it does cool down pretty slow, and as you can see, the last couple of minutes it's only went down 2 degrees, and it'll go down to the 100. And I did find that it does keep its temperature quite well. It's very stable. It doesn't fluctuate around a lot. Now, one thing with infrared preheating stations is they tend to have hot spots. So you just gotta, on your work area, you just have to keep messing around with it and find how your individual one is working. Now, mine distributes the heat pretty well. I didn't find any real hot spots on mine, but it is a common problem with infrared stations, especially if you have components that stick off your board on the bottom. You'll definitely have hot spots going on there. Now, to put a board in, all you got to do is loosen up these bolts on the side of your rails, and then they slide in. I like that. Place your board in. This is just an old board I got off of an old LAN card from an old computer. Once you get your board in, just tighten the bolts down. That way you don't have your board sliding around everywhere. And once it's in there, it's not going to fall off or anything, and you just let it preheat. And I did find that it takes a good 10 minutes for it to preheat, but what's good about it is when it does preheat, and I use my X-Tronic 6040 rework station, I use the hot air gun off of it, and after you if you let the board preheat and use your hot air gun on a pretty low setting, I set to about 175 to 200 degrees to preheat, and I let it preheat for 10-15 minutes. And then my rework station, I set my hot air gun to about 300 degrees and on setting 5.5 for the airflow. And it'll only take a couple seconds to blow around a component and it'll be done. Even this chip, this big chip here, This is an 80 pin chip, and you can unsolder it without no damage or anything in just a couple of seconds after you let the board preheat. Now, for individual components, the preheater may not be the best for you. I find it works really well with like Xbox repairs or repairs where you have to rework a BGA, for example, or if you have to reball a component. Works really well for that. Another thing that preheating stations do is it will heat the board slowly so you don't end up shocking the component, thermally shocking the components. And that thermal shock, the temperature difference from your soldering iron to a room temperature board or component, can damage the components, and it can crack them and kill them. And so if we bring the temperature up nice and slow and keep it in a controlled environment, it'll reduce the risk of frying the components. Now, I just set the temperature up to 175 with this board on it, and I'm going to fire up the rework station and show you how easy it is to take these chips off of this board with a preheating station. So I'll be back. It'll be about 10-15 minutes for me, just another second or so for you guys, and I'll show you how it works. Alright, it's been about 10-15 minutes now, and the board's gotten nice and warm. Now what I'm going to do is take off this LM386 for you guys. I might end up taking this MOSFET off too, but got my 640 rework station turned on, and we're gonna start doing it. Now, the only thing you need to do to get these components off is get a little bit of flux. Flux the end. I'll go ahead and flux this voltage regulator also, so I don't have to do it later. Give it a second for the flux to activate, because the preheating station will get hot enough to activate the flux. Then just get your rework station out. It's easy as that. Now, if you were to try to do this without using the rework station, it would take much longer. This one's going to take a little bit longer anyway, because it has the big ground plane underneath it. There we go. Now I just clean up the pads a little bit with the hot air. Just so I can reflow them and get them nice and even for when I go to put them back on, if I'm going to put them back on. And take off this little resistor right here also. Now, I'm not going to flux it. You shouldn't need to flux it. Reflow them pads real quick, just to keep everything nice and tidy in there. And another thing that Now another thing that the preheating station allows you to do is heat the board up for reworking or resoldering components back to a board. I'm going to put this LM386 back on the board. I'm just wiping some solder on, or some flux on. I'm going to place this component right down on the board. And when you're doing SMD work, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfectly on there, because when the solder reflows, the surface tension will grab it. And you just get your hot air gun, and I try to come straight down over top of it, especially with these little components, so it doesn't blow it away. And you'll see the solder flow back and grab it, and it's done. That's all there is to it. And now that LM386 is firmly attached with no bridges or anything. Works really good. We'll put back on this voltage regulator next, just to give you guys another demonstration of how it works. And when you're doing this kind of work with a preheating station or without one, flux is definitely your friend when you're soldering anything. So you want to make sure you flux everything as much as possible. And get it lined up here. We get our hot air gun, come right back onto it again. Now these MOSFETs or voltage regulators do take a little bit longer to do because of the big ground plane that's on them. And that one is done. It doesn't take too long, and it also allows the solder to cool down and solidify slower, so it'll help eliminate the risk of cold joints or broken solder joints. Now here's the lamp you get with the kit. It's just a small gooseneck lamp, and it has a 5 times magnifying glass in the top, and it also has a 15 times magnification insert in it. The magnification comes in really handy when you're trying to work on boards and stuff. The light is produced by a fluorescent tube light. They're not really bright, but they do offer some good light. I'm using 2 of them on my workbench whenever I'm working, and it's plenty. Now, if you look down here, that board here is only being lit up by 1, and it's off to the side. Now if I turn this on, it shows pretty good light, and I'll show you also what it looks like under the magnifying glass. Now here's what the board looks like with the light off through the magnifying glass. I'm trying to show you guys a little bit how much light it throws out. Now my camera's going to go nuts at first trying to adjust the white balance and everything. But this is what it looks like with the light on. And see, it does throw off some pretty good light, especially when you're soldering these small SMD components. Comes in really handy. And the magnifying glass, the insert in it, I'll show you that in a minute, is really good for checking the solder joints for cold joints or cracked solder joints. It works really nice. Let's take a look at the 15 times insert in it. As you guys can see, the 15 times magnification works really well. It allows you to read chips, check solder joints, make sure everything's all nice on there. Now, one thing I did find about this lamp is that if you move the neck over to the side too far, the base wants to tip over. But for general use, the neck on it is pretty good. It stays pretty much well put wherever you put it. You just got to remember not to take it too far in one direction, or the lamp will tip over on you. Now, changing the bulb, if you could find a bulb replacement for it, does require soldering. It doesn't just snap out and you can snap another one in. Getting to it is pretty simple. It just has a few screws on the bottom side. It's got 5 screws around the housing of it, and then it'll expose this area here where the 2 wires come through the neck up into the bulb. And you unsolder them, solder a new one back in, and it'd be pretty easy to change it. Overall, it's a pretty nice addition to the kit. Although it's not expensive, it does offer a little bit of value, and you get it free, so can't complain too much. Now, as you can see, using a pre-workstation or preheating station is really useful, especially if you're going to be removing components from whole boards or reworking like graphics cards or reballing chips. Preheaters work really well, and not only does it take away the thermal shock of components, but it takes away the limbo time of the solder also. And the X-Tronic 6040 rework station that I reviewed a couple weeks ago is a perfect complement for this preheating station. When you use the two together, you can do any kind of rework that you need. I mean, there's nothing you can't do with these 2 units. Now, some of the good things with this unit is the temperature on it is very stable. The cool down and heating ratio, the temperature to time ratio is very good. It's well within the specs of most components and solder that you're going to be using. Another good thing is the footprint of it is very small, and it can accept pretty big boards. Like I said, the work area, the heating element itself is just under 5 1/4 inches. The clamps are almost 8 3/4 inches wide, and they'll open up to 6 1/2 inches. Now that's a pretty big board. You can almost fit a full motherboard on here. And even if the board is too big for this, you can use these risers here to hold your board on, and just put the area that you're focusing on top. Some of the bad things is it uses a lot of power. Like I said, this thing will draw 1300 watts from the wall whenever it's at full bore. Another thing I don't really like is the fact that the AC adapter was loose on my unit. Now, I've not had a problem with X-Tronic's craftsmanship on any of the other things that I've had. So I think this is a one-time thing. It's definitely not a reoccurring incident that I've had. They usually are pretty good with attention to detail and everything. And so it's not a really big con, you can easily fix that yourself if it does come loose like that. And I'm sure X-Tronic will send you another unit if you call them about that. They have really good customer service. Another thing is mine, I notice whenever I go above 200 degrees, it does smoke a little bit coming out of these vents. Now, it doesn't smell like burning wires or anything. It smells like there might be a oil substance or something on the wires or on the heating element itself or something. It only did it the first couple of times I used it, and it seemed like once it burned off, it was gone. So I don't think it's anything harmful for it. I think it's just the chemicals and stuff that are chemicals or oils that are on the unit itself when it's being fabricated are burning off when you use it for the first time. But overall, it's a pretty good model. This preheating station comes in at $99 from X-Tronic's website. It's a really good deal. There's a couple things that I would like to see added on to it, like a thermo-couple integrated into the unit would be really nice to have, with another readout. But from the looks of it, they have accessories you can put on it, and I'm going to find those out, and then I'll let you guys know. But it's, for the money, you can't beat it. And like I said, the X-Tronics rework station that I reviewed before is a perfect complement for it. You use the two together, and there's nothing that you're not going to be able to rework or reball. I mean, for anybody that's doing any kind of hobby soldering or even professional soldering or desoldering, reworking, reballing, anything, these two units, I mean, together won't even take up 1.5 feet on your workbench, and it'll allow you to do anything you need to do. And so it's definitely worth the price. And like I said, the durability of the X-Tronic units across the line have been phenomenal. You just can't buy that kind of quality at this price point anymore. You end up getting some cheap Japanese stuff. But these units are pretty good. And I think that's going to be it for the X-Tronics 8040 preheating station. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. You can head on over to X-Tronic's website at www.xtronikusa.com and pick yourself up one of these preheating stations or a rework station. They have really good customer service, really good prices, really good units. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't go with these guys over somebody else. I've used a Heiko preheating station before, and it cost me like $400, and it had this. The only thing that the Heiko one had was the thermo-couple integrated, and this one does the same exact thing for a quarter of the price. And so it's definitely a good buy. Like I said, head on over to X-Tronic's website, pick you up one, let them know Nubby from One Hand Tech sent you, and don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more unboxings, reviews, and Arduino tutorials. See ya.